The pathway of life, there are times when some of us might wish there was a map to help direct us towards peace and happiness. In March of 1997, the Garden Isle of Kauai was blessed with the sweet presence of Dadachi, who gave us these loving words of guidance and inspiration.
Please accept my greetings and aloha. Well, I am very happy to see you all once again, and you again attended in a good number. That only shows your eagerness to understand, your openness to know more about life. You know, you are all seekers from this place and attempting to discover what is hidden unto you. This is the quest of man throughout the centuries and many, many centuries. Man is trying to find out the meaning of life, the substance of it, the essence of it, so that his life would be really peaceful, happy, worthwhile. In all the countries throughout the centuries, people everywhere are attempting to do this. People see the uneasiness in life, their difficulties, their problems, their sorrows, their fears. And so they always try to find out if there is a freedom from all these things. In daily life, we carry our own pains, anxieties, worries, angers and fears. And sensitive people, knowledgeable people begin to question if there is any other way of living. Is there any freedom from all this difficulties of life? I have been here in this country for the last 4 months, traveling on the main island, meeting people in groups and on one-to-one basis also. I know all the people are attempting to discover the truth in life, that kind of spiritual freedom. We call it enlightenment. A lot of people are aware of this now. Many are attempting. The mind is seeing its own nature of disquiet. Mind is seeing its own limitation. Mind is seeing its own habitual activity, its own elusive drive. And people begin to wonder if this mind is really the right instrument to take us further to give the touch of that reality, that divinity. So everywhere this attempt is through mind yet. Today the mind is very active in all the departments of life. The mind, the intellect, always struggling to know more and more about everything. And there is no wonder mind is trying to attempt more about this spiritual understanding. Mind is eager to know many things in life. Health, sanitation, more about spiritual matters. It has its own sensational approach, excitements. It tries to indulge in that also. That's why creating more and more branches of excitement, sensations. And at times tries to find out this spiritual aspect also. Mind is not just one thing. It is composed of so many desires, so many dreams, so many longings. Perhaps you are not yet aware of the whole structure of the mind, how deep it is, how much hidden it is. We know some of the aspects of our mind. We know the daily routine, daily longing. But mind is much more hidden below. And the time has come to know more about the mind. That very mind which tries to find peace, tries to find some divinity, or all that we call spirituality. Attempt of the mind is constantly to know, to discover, to find out some of these things. And it is struggling and struggling. It gathers information, reads a lot of books, finds out some convenient style, some technique, some approach, and begins to work in that direction. And people do some of these things for years and years. And at the end, the mind is not prepared to oblige us to discover that which lies beyond itself. So the question is this mind going to deliver the goods? Is this mind, the thought activity, the intellect, going to take us to that state, to that divinity, to that timeless state? Perhaps the time has come to look at this mind, to know its limitation, to know its whole structure, crude and subtle. Without knowing this structure, without knowing this instrument that we are trying to use, we'll not be able to make use of it really rightly. We have to know much more about this mind, this intellect, this thought process. But without knowing and understanding much of it, we create a goal sometimes away from mind and begin to think about it, begin to walk towards that. We have done that enough. Perhaps now it's time to look into this instrument that we call mind, what it is really, how it is working. Is it likely to take us to that ultimate, to that supreme? Or it is going to play with all those kind of things? We have to look at this mind very honestly, very objectively, to know the whole content of it, the whole character of it. This is the only instrument we have. And we have to know it thoroughly. As we are using this mind all the time, 24 hours almost, we have to know more about it, all its subtleties, all its crude things, all its elusive drives, its imaginations, how deceptive it is, how elusive its whole working is. We do not know that. We have taken our mind for granted, and we think we know it. Perhaps we do not know our own mind yet. We know some of its aspects, its likes and dislikes. But to know the whole mind is the real challenge for us. Then we can utilize that, we can use that rightly, properly. When you want to use a car, you have to know much about the car. So this is the instrument that we have, and we should be able to look at it, to understand, to know, to experience it. To know it not by reading some books of philosophy or psychology, but to know is to understand, is to experience that thing. Here, the knowing is experiencing this structure, this energy field that is working all the time. What is mind? This thought, desire, emotion, activities, which works through ideas, through concepts, through desires. And so many are they locked inside, held inside, in different pockets, on different levels. And the one pocket works at a time. While one is working, all others are lying hidden. That is the trick of the mind. It's never open. The whole field of mind is never open at a time. It works in fragments. Mind is a very fragmented structure. It's a very exclusive activity. One thought works at a time in its own exclusion. We don't realize this exclusive activity of the thought, the mind, the idea. What is idea? The thought. Isn't it an exclusive drive of the energy of mind? A thought is active in one direction, with one idea. That thought is a small aspect of the whole energy of mind, one thought. Thought again is just a concept, an idea, in the field of mind. In this whole energy field that we call mind is just one concept. That's one exclusive idea in space of mind. It's always exclusive. It's always fragmented. Can we see the thought working? How it is exclusive? But whenever there is a thought, we are eager to act upon that. Whenever there is another thought, we just shift ourselves to that direction. Then the emotion, in some imagination, some fears, some angers, all these are different thoughts, different activities. And we are active at a time in one exclusion. This exclusive activity will never bring you the understanding of the enormity of life. Our issue is to understand that which is whole, that which is total. Only a total mind, if it can come to that totality, total mind can understand the totality of life around. Truth is a totality. Truth is never exclusive. That timelessness, that reality is an experience of the whole, of the total. And you have to understand that thought can never become total. It's always exclusive, omnidirectional, one-sided. So see the nature of the thought, how it is exclusive. It's very important to know ourselves through thought. We are nothing but the whole bundle of thoughts and emotions, nothing more. And we are active the whole day through different thoughts, different ideas, different emotions, different drives, fears and angers and hates, and everything is that thought. So we are full and full with thoughts and acting exclusively at a time. So we never know the totality of our energy of mind. We have some unit of energy which is functioning, it's pulsating all the time. But one thought is living on that energy of life. Thought, idea, emotion. It lives on that energy of life. It uses and misuses that energy for its own fulfillment. So we have to be aware of that totality of energy that we have. But we have forgotten about that. We are something total, something whole. We are not just an exclusive unit of this and that, but we are working like that. And that has become a habit for the mind to work in that way. Can we be ever free of the thought, an idea, to come into that root of the energy, that base of the energy, the source of that energy. Without dancing around through thoughts and emotions, can we be free of it to come back to that source? That clean, clear, transparent source of life energy. So it's a very simple thing. The challenge of spirituality also is very simple. To be free from all these fragmentary activities of life and to come into that wholeness, in that totality. And that totality is your source. In that totality is hiding the divinity. We have gathered so much information. We read a lot of books, hear so many things. But again the thought is active in that. Is your reading also is building more and more thoughts, more and more ideas. Do we need to have ideas and philosophy to come back to your source of energy? Perhaps this thought itself is a escape from the source. Thought is an extroverted activity. All the time wandering around the circumference. It keeps you hooked down to the circumference and doesn't allow you to come back to the center. In the center lies the beauty and the ecstasy of life. Whole secret of spirituality is come back to the center. By becoming free from this thought, emotion, idea, all these external activities. But in the name of understanding the spirituality, we are encouraging the thought. We are building our mind and thought activity. Gathering more knowledge, more information. For what? Is all that information necessary? Whereas the issue is to become free from all that informative ideas. They are just ideas, concepts. You are accepted because they are convenient to you. Some people like some aspect of this philosophy or the tradition or the religion. Others choose something else. These are all choices. And what is your choice based on? You have all your choices, your opinions. And we are all divided into opinions. Do we have to have opinions to understand the reality of the fact? What is opinion? Your idea. Your concept. Your convenient concept. So we have to look into this mind, this intellect, this thought activity, which is keeping us bound to its own ideas. And the truth is not the idea. Reality is not the conclusion of your mind. perhaps all the conclusions of your mind have to come to an end. All your intellection must come to an end after seeing its fallacy, seeing its limitation, seeing its elusive drive. Because that is not going to take you to that which is supreme, which is beyond time. Mind itself is an instrument born out of time. Mind is time. And this mind, the time is not going to take you to the timeless. Timeless, that present, eternal present that is pulsating in the moment. Can the mind come into that pulsating moment of the now? That vibrant energy of the now? Thought, the mind is a conceptual activity. It creates ideas through its own conditioning. But reality is something which is clean, clear. The conditioned apparatus can never allow you to touch that. We only need to be free from that mind activity. That whole energy of life, which is utilized by that mind, that thought, the idea, the emotion, the attachment, that has to be freed. Then that very energy is free. That very energy is clean. And the mind and the emotion is a contamination on that energy. If you can see this fact, how we contaminate this energy of life through our emotions, ideas, feelings, and what, anger, hates, everything. All that is jumping around constantly. There is no God or divinity anywhere around outside, but very inside. The seat of divinity lies hiding within. And so you have to come back with clean energy of yourself. That cleanliness of energy is a worship of Lord. We don't have to go anywhere to search that divine. It is hiding in the sanctuary of your own inner. So the challenge is to be free from all these divisive activities of the energy, these contaminations of your life energy, and then become whole, total, come back. Then you will find there, your Lord, the divine, is hiding within. Life is a game of seeking Him. This hide and seek is a game divine. Somebody divine, somebody supermind has kept something hiding from us. And He has put the challenge to find Him, to discover Him. How are we going to tackle this? This is the only challenge in life of a human being, the discovery of that which is hiding. And we have to approach intelligently, openly, cleanly, transparently, honestly. Otherwise our own mind is going to twist the whole thing. Our own mind is the hindrance. There is no other hindrance between you and the reality, between you and the divinity. Your own structure of thought, emotion, mind. It has become so strong. It has become so heavy, crystallized structure. Mind is a biological fossil. Through time, it has accumulated all this knowledge, information, this kind of attachments. And it has become so strong, solid structure. It's a calcified structure. So we have to really loosen that structure and make the energy again flowing from that. Now it's all crystallized, calcified, God. Because of a strong attachment, strong memories, strong likes and dislikes. Life living is not your likes and dislikes. It's a momentum, it's a flow. And you have to be in that flow, meeting everything as it comes along from moment to moment. But we are become so solid, God. Your mind, your ideas, your likes and dislikes, God. You are so heavy. And that heaviness is a burden of life. So now the challenge is to loosen the whole structure. Loosen this crystallized, calcified structure. To make it into an energy, flow, a momentum that moves along with the timeless. Timeless is here, God. Don't. It's the whole challenge of conversion of energy. This mind, emotional, thought energy is to be converted into that pure, transparent, clean energy. This is a simple issue, a very natural process. Can we take this challenge of such a mind, calcified mind, stubborn, heavy mind? Are we aware of that stubbornness of the mind? We take our mind for granted. Everything is right with me. Somebody else is wrong. The real issue in life is only this solidified energy, which is your mind, which is your thought. Then you will learn the beauty of that thoughtless momentum of life. To live without the thought, to exist without your emotional drives. But to be in that state of energy, in that really total energy of life. That totality of energy has its own intelligence. It works intuitively. You don't have to have the thought, your mind, your ideas, your intellection to drive that energy. Your drive is always exclusive, always conditional, always influenced by your mind. So we have to be free from all this and allow that energy to have its own way. Create some space for that energy so that it would work intuitively, spontaneously. And that intuitive aspect is the creation of life. Then you will be a creative person, independent person. We need that creativity, that freedom. Then that life, the pure, life, the transparent, will function in its own way. So the real issue is to be free from the structure of thought, mind, emotion. God. It has become so heavy, so rigid. With our habits, it has become a complex structure today. So the challenge is to see this, to understand this. Don't take it for granted, please. The challenge is here, into ourselves. So look at it, see the whole structure while it is active, while it is operating. So we need to come back to take a look at it. We never look at it. We are always busy with that action. The moment there is a thought, you are out to act. The moment there is a feeling, you are just out. Can you take a little time just to look at this whole structure? How it comes in, how it operates. How it has its own thrust. The thought and emotion has its own strong thrust. It doesn't give you time even to look at that. That has become the way of life now. So now be aware of this whole activity of thought, mind, idea, emotion, everything that moves here in your space. Look at it, just take a look for the fun of it. We have got to understand this structure, which has become so complex and heavy now. And that heavy burden is the source of sorrow. So can we take a look at our own mind activity? Now that we are focused outside all the time, we are all extroverted people who are just out there. So now can we take a turn back into ourselves a little bit? Just as we take a U-turn and just come back to look at this whole structure of thought. It's such a good thing to take a look, to see the whole panorama of our thought mind. This whole panorama, this whole landscape of our mind, to take a look. So we need to come back into ourselves a little if we want to discover the divinity, the truth or reality or whatever you name it. The name is not important at all, but the essence, the experience. We don't need to have different names, God. We are carried by the names and you fight over the names. So to have that essence, that understanding, experience that which is nameless really. That timeless, that nameless, that divine has no name. It doesn't belong to any religion or any continent or any time. It's a nameless reality which functions pulsating in that moment of the now. That's why it's called timeless. It's not held in time. It is the mind that wants to hold everything in time. Don't try to hold that. It's the mind that holds, but the reality never. The timeless never. It's a flowing momentum of life. So if you are really interested in the discovery of truth or wisdom or divinity, whatever that is, is hiding quite so near into yourself. It's only skin deep into yourself, but you are all just looking out. Through books, through tradition, the chanting, to throw everything out. And mind is getting intoxicated with all those things. In that intoxication, mind is continuing in time. The whole objective of the mind is to continue in time, that's all. It stagnates itself through time. Whereas the challenge is to negate this very structure of the mind and finally challenge is to negate this mind, its thought activity. And for that we have to look at this whole activity, understand it, understand all the drives, all the illusions that it creates, all the hopes and desires it maintains. We never look at them. As if what we have in mind is all sacred, sacrosanct. We try to hold on to it. I don't know if you hold or the mind itself holds you. I don't think you have any control on the mind. It's the mind that is controlling you. It's the dictator. But you think you are using the mind. That's your mind, God. I hope it was your mind. But no, sir. You have no control on it. And still you think that your mind. You are so proud about it. My thought, my idea, I know this. What do we know really? This is really the challenge, to see the fallacy of the mind, this elusive nature of the mind. All our senses are elusive. The mind is deceptive. And whatever you think and see in life is not the real. It's something colorful. For the discovery of the reality, we have to free from this instrument of the mind, which has its own limitations, which has its own illusions, which has its own deceptions. When you will see the nature of the mind, you will not put a trust on that. You will not be very happy and proud about it. You will be conscious, you will be alert, you will be watching, you will be attentive to every movement of the thought mind. We need to be attentive, watchful towards all the ripples of the mind which is thought. To look at the whole activity objectively, impartially, honestly, then you will know the nature of the mind. That attentive awareness will negate the mind. You will no more be enamored by the mind. So that attentive awareness into yourself will help you understand and negate this whole solid structure of the thought mind. We need that in-depth awareness to look at the whole mind with the totality of our energy. We need a lot of energy, a lot of passion to look at this mind. The mind is not going to oblige you with little casual look into it. So we need that real solid attention. Then alone you will be able to look into it, to see the whole structure. Otherwise, mind, the thought is always taking you on ride. God, very happily. Yeah? And you have developed this habit of just going. The moment there is a thought, you are just out, there is an again. And that whole thought activity is just restlessness in life. We don't have that in-depth attention, total tranquility of our energy. So we are missing that thing, and that's why we are all the time hectic. We don't really need to have all these superficial thoughts. We have played enough with that. We need the energy of a different dimension, which is not thought activity, but that steady, tranquil, total energy. God. We need to discover that dimension of life energy, which is stable, which is all the time alert, attentive. Then you will discover a new quality of energy. Then you will know what peace is, what tranquility is, what love is. All these aesthetic virtues come from that dimension, not from the mind activity. But we have copied all that, and the mind is trying to be more compassionate, more loving, more good. What is goodness in the structure of mind? You can cultivate a habit of being good, and you can become socially good, socially respectable. But goodness belongs to some other dimension. We are all playing around with our little games, with little toys, creating more attachment, more frictions. So the time has come for an educated human being to take a look, to know some of these things. We don't need to be clever only. We need to become wise. It's very easy to be clever. But our challenge is to discover that wisdom. So when are we going to take a turn, a real turn, not a wishful, conditional turn? And we have to employ the whole energy of life for that turn so that you can really walk back into yourself. Can we gather our whole energy to stand behind that turn, to stand behind that perception, observation? Do we know how to observe, how to look at ourselves impartially, without any condition? To look at ourselves as we are. We don't need to condemn that. We'll accept whatever we are. The mind that is today, is now, it's our manufacturing. We have created that mind through our likes and dislikes and struggles and choices. We are all the time using our choices. We have our choices. And after all these choices, what has happened to us? Do we think what we are is the right image of our choices? Whole life, right from childhood, we are working towards choices. What is good, what is right. And we have arrived here. And look at the image of yourself. With all these choices of years and years, what has happened? What are we really? Bundle of anger, hate, fears, attachments, greeds, sensations, what? And we only hope to be somebody else, something else. Because books are saying, philosophies are talking. So the important thing is what we are. The reality is here. Look at that reality, accept it, whatever we are. We don't need to condemn ourselves. Accept it, love it, and see honestly, very objectively, whatever we are, and can proceed from there. Begin to accept yourself. Then that watchful, attentive awareness will be your way of life. You will be all the time watching, knowing what are you. Not just desiring things. By desiring things, you can't have anything. Desire is a very cheap thing. But knowing this fully well, with your total attention and observation, what is happening, what we are really now. With this observation, with your whole energy, you will discover a new vibrancy of life, a new dynamicity of life. When you be totally attentive with your whole energy, God, you will invite a new energy. That energy is going to lead you towards your own divinity. That energy is pure, transparent. It's really benevolent. And that energy is going to heal you. That energy is a real healer. Is going to heal all the wounds and scars of your life. So there is something sublime. Let us walk towards that, to have a touch of that sublime, that divine. It's not very far from us. That's why we have to take a turn to look and start walking towards that. That is the real pilgrimage of life. To walk back into yourself with your two little feet is the pilgrimage of life. It's high time we take up to that pilgrimage. So much is hiding within. Discovery of that is your right, is your birthright. Have it. We need not blame anyone for our difficulties, for our troubles. Don't waste your angers and fears outside. Take a turn, look within, walk back into yourself. There is a virtue, there is a mine of virtue. Then you don't have to blame anyone. Then you yourself will the focal point of benevolence, love, compassion, whatever that is. It's all hiding within. With this, look into yourself with understanding and awareness. That's the way. Not the way of intellect and the mind. You can become more knowledgeable, like Pandits. You don't need that. You don't need more information. But this kind of attentive awareness, where you are always vigilant, awake into yourself, awake towards you. We are never awake at our own thing. You are always out. So this is the only shift that we have to make. Instead of becoming extrovert outside, keeping our focus all the time outside. We have to work outside also. But all the time, out and out. that becomes a habit pattern. That becomes a structure of our whole life. So let us take a turn, change this energy, and begin to come back into yourself, where you will find your own eternal home. That home, that kingdom is lying here. There is the kingdom, there is the home. But we are really giving word service only in talk, in word. We only talk about that. But leave all the words, all your concepts, and be just attentive, alert, watchful, with your honesty, with all your passion of life. Do it, come back. There is something really solid. Otherwise you will be wandering and wandering, blaming this and blaming that. There is the divine and sublime hiding here. So this is the only challenge of the life. This is the only issue. And he who will do this honestly will definitely find that we need to have our wings to fly back into ourselves. Take a turn, be aware of it, and the life itself will provide you with the wings. Create the necessity and the life offers it. Aspire for those wings. Create a necessity to this, and life will be giving you give the wings to take you on the ride beyond the horizon of your mind. We need to cross the barrier of the mind. And we can cross that with the wings of our total energy. When we gather with, make our whole energy of life stand behind that observation. Then that energy itself will make you airborne. You know, the plane takes off. Right? When there is enough momentum of life, is on the runway, it moves fast, and there is a quick seconds and it becomes airborne. So we need to have that experience to fly within. There is so much inner space that is awaiting us. But we are struggling here, fighting here, God. You know, flying in the air and the space is so smooth, without elbowing each other. Then the life will be so smooth. There is that freedom in that kind of life. But you have to gather the speed to become airborne, to enter into yourself. Other we are holding ourselves with these attachments and greeds and all the wants and non-wants. We are held up by our own attachments. We do not know how this attachment is such a strong force that holds us back. To be free from this attachment, we have to develop a counter force to be free from any force. You know, scientists have seen this. You know how these rockets are sent up. Otherwise, the earth has its own attachments. It always pulls everything down. It's gravity, its own attachment. This earth has its own attachment. It always holds down everything. But to be free from that, we have to develop a counter force. That counter force worth 17,000 miles per hour. If you create that counter force, that thrust, you can escape the gravitation pull of the earth. And to escape the gravitation pull of our ego mind, don't you have to develop that counter force? Otherwise the mind, the ego is holding on everything. Attachment, greed. That is the limitation, that is the burden, that is the bondage. To take you to the freedom, you have to develop that counter force. It's all a very natural phenomena. Whole life is guided by this natural law, that cosmic law, that cosmic intelligence. We don't need to invent our own little laws. Resign to that law. That's it. Come back, negate your mind, negate that ego. Come back, create that space. You don't have to do anything. That is what is really surrender, devotion and surrender. To your own internal energy, not somewhere outside. God, it's very easy. Surrendering is that to that internal energy. That devotion. Devotion to your own inner. Surrender to that internal. And it is going to take you up. Surrender is negation of the mind. Negation of all your attachments and hooks of the mind. And to surrender to something. But it has to be that internal surrender. External, not outer. Do that. But for this kind of surrender, you have to gather your whole energy and understanding and come back. That surrender will never fail you. It is going to take you by hand and lift. So there is so much awaiting for us. We have to understand this whole phenomena of life, the whole structure, emotion, this mind by which we are playing all the time. It's all right, we have done that, we are used to that, we have come up to this stage, but now what? Are we going to perpetuate in the same way? We may have come all the year this way, all right, but now we have to see this life, the mind, its own activity. This very mind, how many things, unwanted things, is harboring into itself. All the worries, fears, anxieties, struggles, sorrows. God, why? How are you going to clean this whole stuff? By substituting something? We need to dissolve this whole thing. That is a real challenge. Otherwise, this mind is going to take you to its own wrong ends also. Don't rely much on this structure. It's all right, good where to use it, but know it now. Don't take it for granted. Don't begin to worship your own mind through your activities, through your deeds. Mind chooses something, follows that idea, and in that idea is a mind that worships itself. You don't see the fallacy of it. We are worshipping ourselves finally. That's how this mind has come all these years. All these centuries, mind has come up to this. Still the same mind. It may change a little bit as we change the style of our clothes according to the time. So this is a time, different time we can choose. We can shift ourselves. But the whole structure is there, solid. So realize this challenge, and this spiritual change is a revolution. It's not just a simple thing, but you can, few little things you can just work out all this. Repeating something and doing some of the things. No, sir. It's a basic qualitative change. It's a transformation. The whole structure of this thought, mind, emotion has to be transformed into something else. So we have to know the whole chasm of this mind. Not by taking something superficially, wishfully. Don't try to deceive yourself. See the enormity of this challenge, the structure of it in us. Otherwise this mind is going to deceive you at any stage. So it is a challenge of transformation to discover the new dimensional life where the mind has no much place. Your thought activity has no room, but there is a spontaneity of energy. It acts. And that action is spirit. There is something like a spiritual action. And that is a discovery of life. Nobody is going to donate you that. That energy, that action is not lying in anybody's pocket, any book, any tradition or religion. It is a discovery unto yourself. And that's the beauty of that nature. It has kept open for anyone who is interested, who is honest. He may be anywhere, on the North Pole or this tropic or anywhere in the world. It's open for him. So see this fact of life. Gather your strength, your energy, to look at the whole thing, to realize the whole challenge of your life. If at all you are interested in the freedom or reality or the truth. Otherwise life is there, everybody is living. We don't need to carry on like this. Somehow you are carrying some kind of yearning into yourself. That's why you are here. But use it rightly. Don't allow your mind to deceive yourself now. It's a very clever mechanism. It wants to perpetuate itself at any cost. That is the whole objective of the mind. Mind is not really ready to give you the freedom from itself. It has its own attachment. It wants to perpetuate itself at any cost. It will give you whatever you want, a little bit here and there, but it will keep its whole thrust as it is. So we have to see this nature of our own mind. Our own mind. The challenge is to dissolve this through understanding, through awareness, through constant vigilance into itself. What is the whole thing that is active day and night? And we are just a victim through its habit patterns. So take a look into yourself, honestly, sincerely, with your transparent attention. Then you can rise above yourself. You can awaken into yourself. This is the awakening into yourself. These are not just terms or words, but actualities, experiencing of awakening. To be alertly knowledgeable about everything that is happening in this field, in this area of the mind, in this energy field that we call mind. Much about this energy field called the mind, the emotion, the whole, everything is jumping around. How much we know about this? Not through ideas again, not through philosophies and tradition, but actually see, experience, know it firsthand. We want to know this through second-hand knowledge from books and others. But experience is always a first-hand act. We need the experience, not the knowledge, not the ideas. We have played enough with all that. That's why we never progress much. Now we have to come into this state of experiencing. Everything has to be experienced to know it. That is the first-hand knowing. We need that. Not second-hand information from others. Remember now, if you are really interested in this, it's all open for anybody who has that passion, who has that will, who has that honesty to discover this. Then you can easily discover this into your own inner sanctuary. There, the divine is hiding into that inner sanctuary of ourselves. So turn back, walk quietly, with all your energy of life. And then in inadvertent moment you will find a touch of it, without your wanting, without your desiring. It will give its own touch. That touch will transform the whole life. And your life will be different, your vision will be different, and your actions will be different. Free from the worries and anxieties. Then we will know what peace is, what love is, what living is. So create that space of silence. So through that silence, you can move beyond yourself. That silence is beauty of life. You do not know really the total silence. That silence is so aesthetic. So let's not be all the time active, hectic in mind. We have to use the mind at some places, but don't create a habit of that all the time. The reality lies in silence. The nature is silent. The God is silent. He is not vocal all the time. So know the beauty of silence, the richness of it. And that silence will give you all the aesthetic things that you want. Then silence will become golden. So let that silence rule you. And let that silence consume you. It's my prayer for you. Right.